So tonight we're going to be talking about zombie movies. More specifically, what it is about zombie movies that seems to attract people, and what it is that makes them work, and sometimes what makes them successful, despite the fact that they actually don't work. Um, well, to start with, let's think about this. What is it about a zombie film that makes it so appealing? It's essentially even in the old days, before they got really violent or anything. Back when zombies weren't even necessarily undead flesh eaters, but just mindless servants. It had a certain appeal, and it was because it was a fear of well, of the unknown. It was a fear of someone who would have the power to quite literally go inside your head, take your mind and your free will from you, and you were their servant no matter what. There wasn't a thing you could do about it. You'd be a prisoner inside your own mind, completely at their mercy, doing their bidding. Then, as the genre evolved, it became a viral thing. And here's where it really took off. Combined two things. Actually, in a way, three things that people were really afraid of. Number one is death. Everyone's afraid of dying, and the undead are especially scary because of that. It's this effect knowing that these things, these people, aren't even people, they're dead. They've been dead, they've been buried, and now they're back to life. It also combines a fear of disease, because a disease is something that you cannot fight. It spreads, you can't stop it, you can't fight it. You don't know where it's coming, you don't know how it's spread, you don't fully understand it, it's just there. It spreads. You simply hope that you don't get it. It's a case of not knowing how it is you're going to stop this. It's spreading like a plague, which is what it is, and it terrifies you. And to a degree, it also preys upon your fear of, your loved ones, losing them, and what would happen if they were to turn. How many times have you sat there watching a zombie movie and then you look over at your family or someone that your friends or your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, you know, anybody, and just wondered what would happen if that was them? Would I be able to kill them? Would I be able to fight them off to save my life? What would I do? So it's a very introspective genre as well. Lately, though, the introspection has gone bye-bye and has given way to mindless gore, but that's neither here nor there. Um, but see, it's something about zombies that's just utterly terrifying, even if it's not even that well done. It's just this concept of, you know, it just preys on some of your most primal fears, and that's one reason that it's so successful. Now, looking at some cases, though, of why they're successful when they don't work. Um, I'm sure we all remember the Romero movies. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and yes, even Land of the Dead. And apparently, he's made others, including Diary of the Dead, which was actually a good movie. Um, Very much under the radar, but a good movie. Wherein basically there's a zombie outbreak and these people are, how do I say it? Recording Blair Witch style. Basically, it's a sort of Blair Witch version of the beginning of a zombie outbreak, and it's actually really well done. Then you have cases of remakes. Now, to be fair, the Zack Snyder remake of Dawn of the Dead, while deviating a bit from the original, it still managed to be a good movie. It was still entertaining. Although it was a remake of Dawn of the Dead, it wasn't a sequel necessarily to anything. Some people thought that it was actually supposed to be a sequel to the remake of Night of the Living Dead that had come out in the 90s. Not the case. It's very weird. It's not often that you see someone remake the second film in a trilogy and make it a standalone film. But at the same time, the beautiful thing about the Romero movies is that even though they're a trilogy originally, you can just pick any one of them up and watch it as its own standalone film. The only one where you'd have a little more trouble with that, I think, is probably Day of the Dead, and that's because what happened in Dawn of the Dead is kind of key to what happens in Day of the Dead. Because in Dawn of the Dead, um, cities, everything, get evacuated. Day of the Dead, that's already happened. They're all abandoned. The outbreak has already happened. Zombies are pretty much overrunning everything, and they're trying to find a way to reverse this if possible. Yeah, they're actually hunting for a cure. But someone had to go and remake Day of the Dead too. And this one did try to make it look like it was going to be a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, even though it had absolutely nothing to do with Dawn of the Dead, Snyder's movie, at all. A lot of people thought it was going to be one somehow, or even just a prequel or something. You would have Ving Rhames in it and everything. So it was very deceptive to people thinking that, this must be related to this movie. And in fact, it wasn't. It was a completely different movie. Start of a zombie outbreak again. This movie was seriously messed up. They messed up a lot of stuff in continuity, in plot. There were cases of, and if you thought that it was bad with the Dawn of the Dead remake, oh god. People were upset with the Dawn of the Dead remake because in Romero movies they'd always had the, slow, stumbling, rambling, zombies. Dawn of the Dead, you had the runners. And that upset some people. But if you thought that was bad, Day of the Dead, the remake, oh my god. I can't even hardly call it a remake. They pulled the adaptation BS. They bought the rights to remake the film simply for the sake of being able to use the name. And what it is, in fact, some people will question whether or not they actually were given permission, they were seeking it, but some people wondered whether or not they were even given permission, which might be why they altered it. But the way they altered it, oh my god, it's just ridiculous. The zombies, once infected, are literally able to walk along, then all of a sudden, they're crawling along at a rapid speed, then they start crawling on the walls and even up on the ceiling. Yes, at high speed, where it's clearly just the film sped up, but, wow. Yeah, it gets bad. And for everyone who kept thinking that zombies were completely safe from getting ruined, wow. In this movie, there is a zombie who will not attack people. He's a soldier like the other main characters, but he will not attack people once he's bitten and turned. You're not gonna believe. You are not gonna believe why. Because the guy who gets bitten is a vegetarian. So yeah, we have a vegetarian zombie in this movie. Unreal. But yeah, they messed up a whole bunch of other stuff too, including continuity errors. People who die are appearing later in other scenes, so they're reusing extras. The main character, she's firing off a gun. That's clearly just a gun, no silencer, and yet the silencer sound is going off. Her name in the movie is Corporal Cross or something like that, and yet Sarah Cross, and yet in the credits it's like Sarah Bowers or something like that. They messed up bad, but it still had a draw. It's unfortunate, but it still had a draw. It still made at least its budget back, maybe more. People will continue to come see it. almost every zombie movie out there that you just pick one and it made more than its budget back. I don't think there's ever been a single true complete flop of a zombie film. I mean, even looking at like let's see here, Romero's Land of the Dead. Budget $15 million, a worldwide total $46 million. So it made plenty back. It was frankly a bad movie, bad zombie movie. They started becoming intelligent. You were somehow supposed to sympathize with them. Like, even though they're dead and reanimated with only the most base instincts, they're somehow able to survive. It kind of contradicted what he had established in his own movies. And perhaps the biggest what the heck moment for me was there was a zombie literally whose head was only attached to the rest of his body via a flap of skin on the back of the neck. The head was completely severed. You could see it plain as day, completely severed. Yet the zombie body and head are both still animated. What? Because of a flap of skin? Granted, it seems like something that was just tossed in there for the sake of a, scary effect, or, one of those, oh wow, I can't believe they did that things, but, I don't buy it. It was just kind of bogus. But anyway, it was interesting to see Dennis Hopper and John Leguizamo work together again, though I hadn't seen those two together since the Super Mario movie, which could have been an omen. But, it's still, these movies are making a ton back. No matter what. The only, I mean, look at this. You take any movie and you put zombies in it. Shaun of the Dead. It was a comedy that chances are most of us probably even wouldn't have bothered with if it hadn't been for the zombies. And, it made Simon Pegg huge. Over here, anyways. When you take a look at all these, The Walking Dead, when it came out on TV, everyone's got to see it. Zombieland, that comes out, everyone's got to see it. Nobody even really cares what this stuff is based on. They just hear zombie and it's, oh my god, I got to see it. So, no matter what you do, zombie movies are going to have a huge draw. They have a cult following because of their appeal to some of the most base fears in humanity. But when you take a look specifically at the Resident Evil films and how they don't flow, I mean, of course they're going to have it for two reasons. Number one being name recognition. People were going to flock to see movies based on Resident Evil, which then turned out to have very little to do with Resident Evil. But they are also zombie movies. In fact, zombie action movies. So of course they're going to see it. But, when you take a look at the bigger picture overall, when you got this virus that was supposed to have been completely obliterated in a blast, and like only surviving in her somehow survives, and then as a result of this virus spreading, everything's turning into a wasteland, water drying up, trees, grass dying, all this crap, which is frankly unbelievable. And in the middle of all this superheroing that Alice is doing, do people forget that she's basically indirectly responsible for this virus being out in the first place? She was involved in corporate espionage, industrial espionage, which basically caused that virus to escape as a result of her actions. Yeah. Oh god, it's funny. It's just stuff that people don't notice, and this ridiculous stuff like, Jill coming in and all of a sudden knowing all this stuff about the zombies and how to kill them and how to deal with them and everything, and yet, you've never seen her before. This is something that apparently has never happened before, but she knows all this stuff and you're just supposed to take it for granted because she's Jill. It's, stuff like that. And then you have, the fun, you have the variant zombie films where it's basically the zombie formula but not zombies, like 28 Days Later and even the film version of Doom, where suddenly that's being spread like the zombie virus. It's interesting. But anyways, there you have it. That's basically why zombies are going to attract people no matter what. And next video, you tell you what, you tell me what you want in the next video. See ya.